Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this square basket in the round. Now obviously this is not a perfect square basket since we will be working in the round, but it's close enough. We're going to start with a square base, work up the sides, and then work some nice handles into it so you can carry it around very easily. This works up really quickly. We're using only half double crochets, which makes the basket grow faster than single crochets. And yet you still get a nice sturdy stitch. This is a great gift idea and a great storage option. To make the square basket, I am using 3 strands of a 4-weight acrylic yarn held together. I have 2 of a sort of variegated yarn here, and 1 just a cream to kind of bring everything together. However, I have used all variegateds for this sort of project. I have used all solid strands held together for this project. It doesn't matter what kind of yarn you put together, they always seem to come out in this very cool way. So don't worry, use whatever you have on hand. I recommend for this size basket, you're going to need at least 1 ball of yarn or 1 cake of yarn. Now, the ones that I'm using have at least 600 yards in each, so I will put all of that information in the description box down below so you can kind of measure the size that you want your basket and how much yarn you may need for your project. Holding 3 strands together requires a larger crochet hook. So I am using an 8mm crochet hook. It is actually the largest crochet hook that I have. If I had a larger one, I might size up, but an 8mm is the largest hook, and I checked that I have, so this is what we'll be using. For the square basket, you'll also need 4 stitch markers. These stitch markers will make your life so much easier in doing this project because they will mark the actual corners of our basket. Into each corner we are working 3 stitches, so you want to make sure that you know exactly where your corners are. Holding all 3 strands together, you're going to work a magic ring. So remember that these 3 strands will act as 1 strand in this project. So you want to go under those 3 and pick up the strands behind, and you can create your little ring. Slip your fingers out and grab the strands that are acting as your working strands here. Okay, I'm going to chain 1. And again, working with so many strands of yarn can be difficult. So you want to make sure that you always have 3 strands on your hook, and again that acts as your 1 strand. You've chained 1. We're going to work 8 half double crochets into this ring. So this chain 1 doesn't count as anything. So we're going to work a half double crochet. So once you have all of those strands, you're going to yarn over and pull back through all strands. And it takes time, so it may be frustrating at first, but stick with it. It's definitely worth it for these baskets. We're going to work another half double crochet. And you want 8 total. So we've worked 2, I'm going to work 6 more. Once you have worked your 8 half double crochets all the way around, you can pull that center, and that will sort of cinch up your circle there. And we're going to slip stitch into the top of that first chain, or that first stitch. You can always count back. This counts as 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's my 8th stitch. Put your hook in, and these will be tight stitches because you have worked 3 strands as one strand essentially. So once you get used to it, it becomes a little easier. So there's my starting circle. I'm going to chain 1, and I want to work a half double crochet into that same stitch. So right back in, I'm going to work a half double crochet, and I'm going to work one more half double crochet right into that same spot. And there's my 2 half double crochets. I'm going to insert a stitch marker right here on this first half double crochet that I did, and that is going to be the middle. We're going to work around, and when we get back here, we are going to work one more half double crochet into that same spot, so that will act as our first little corner. That middle stitch will be the exact middle, and it'll make sense once we go through this project a little bit. I'm just going to stick that stitch marker in, and we can continue. Into this very next stitch, I'm just going to work 1 half double crochet, into the next stitch I am going to work 3 half double crochets. So this will be our second corner. And just go slowly if you're having trouble catching all of those strands of yarn. So this is our second half double crochet, and into this second one that I just did, I'm going to put a stitch marker. That is my second corner. And I'm going to work one more half double crochet in that same spot. And you can see this is, each corner has 3 stitches. So there's 1, this one is our middle, and there is our first. First, middle, third. Let me secure this so it doesn't fall out on me. Into the next stitch, we're going to work 1 half double crochet. Into the next, we're working a corner. So 3 half double crochets, and into the middle stitch we want to place our stitch marker. There's 1. Here's our second and our middle. So I'm going to put that stitch marker in. And work one more. Oops. Let's try that again. Let's put it in and actually secure it this time. Alright. Now we're going to work one more half double crochet into that same spot to finish our third corner. Into the next stitch, 1 half double crochet. Into the next is our fourth corner. So our fourth corner, we need 3 half double crochets. One. Here's our middle. So after I'm done with that middle one, I'm going to put my last stitch marker on. And of course I grab the stitch marker that is somewhat broken and doesn't want to secure itself very well. So one more half double crochet right into that same stitch, that finishes our corner. Into the next 1 half double crochet, and now we're back at our beginning corner. So here's the middle. We need one more stitch on the end. This is sort of like a false stitch, so don't get confused by it. We want to work right back into this space right here where our corner has already been started. So it might be a little awkward to get over there. Just pull up on your yarn. You want tight stitches, but you also want to get in the right stitch and not have your hands completely cramp up on you either. So there is that last stitch there. I'm going to take out my stitch marker here for a second. I am going to slip stitch into that top, that middle stitch that we did. You can see it's kind of shaping into a square. For the next round, I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to work 3 half double crochets into this same stitch, because that is our middle. So every stitch that has one of these stitch markers will get 3 half double crochets. So I'm going to work my 3 half double crochets, and on the middle stitch I'm going to replace my stitch markers. So there's 1, there's 2, and that is my middle. So I'm going to place that stitch marker, and that will remind me that I need to do 3 stitches when I get back around. 1 more half double crochet, for each stitch in between these stitch markers, you're just going to put 1 half double crochet. So into the next one is a half double crochet, into the next stitch is a half double crochet, and 1 more half double crochet into the next stitch, and we are back at a stitch marker. I'm going to take that stitch marker out and work 3 half double crochets into that stitch. There's my second, so I'm going to pick that stitch marker back up, put it in, so I remember that is my corner, work 1 more half double crochet to finish that corner. The next 3 stitches here, before I get to my next stitch marker, is just going to be 1 half double crochet. 1 half double crochet into each stitch. At the next corner, I am going to take out my stitch marker, work 3 half double crochets into that corner, one into that same space, same stitch, 2, and that is my second one. I'm going to replace that stitch marker. One more to complete the corner, and there's our corner. 1, 2, 3 stitches before we get to our last corner. So we want a half double crochet into each of those stitches. I'm at my last corner with this sort of messed up stitch marker. I am going to work 3 half double crochets. There's 1, there's 2. Let's try to replace this stitch marker on that second stitch. Well, hopefully good enough. 1 more half double crochet to finish that corner. 1, 2, 3 stitches left before we get to that first corner that we did. You just want a half double crochet into each of those. We're back at the beginning. I am going to work a slip stitch into the top where that stitch marker is. So I'm going to take him out for a second. We've got our little start of a little bottom of our basket. So let's work another round together. Chain 1 does not count as anything. I am going to work 3 half double crochets into this space, this chain stitch that I just slip stitched into, and that will be our corner. So there's 1, 2, find your stitch marker and put that stitch marker back into that second stitch, so you remember that that is your corner. Work 1 more half double crochet into that very same spot and you finish your corner. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches before we get to our next corner. So all you need to do is work a half double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. I have worked a half double crochet into each of those 5 stitches. I'm at my next corner. I'm going to take that stitch marker out, work my 3 half double crochets into it. There's 1, 2. Now let's replace that stitch marker into that stitch that we just did. Work 1 more half double crochet into that same stitch to finish our corner. We've got 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just going to work a half double crochet into each of those 5 stitches. At your next corner, take out that stitch marker, work 3 half double crochets into that stitch, one, 2, replace the stitch marker into that stitch you just did. That will mark your middle stitch and the stitch that you have to work 3 into on the next round. And 1 more half double crochet into that same stitch, and that completes your corner. You've got 5 stitches in between before you get to your next stitch marker. We're going to work a half double crochet into each of those 5 stitches. 1 more. There's my 5 half double crochets. Here's my stitch marker that's somewhat broken. Take him out. Let's work 3 into the next stitch. So 3 half double crochets into that stitch. There's my second one. Let's try to replace this one. All right. 1 more half double crochet into that same spot, and we've finished our last corner. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches along the end, so work a half double crochet into each of those 5 stitches. And see, sometimes that happens where you lose all of your strands or part of your strands. Just take that out and redo that stitch. You want to make sure that you're grabbing all strands. One more stitch here. I'm going to take this stitch marker out for our first corner. Slip stitch. Chain one, and into that same space that we just slip stitched into, you're going to start your next corner. So 3 half double crochets, a single half double crochet, so 1 half double crochet in all of these stitches across until you get your next stitch marker. Work 3 into that corner. Always replace your stitch marker in the middle of those 3 stitches. So in the second one, single or a half double crochet in each of the stitches in between your stitch markers, and you will get start to get a nice corner square basket, at least the base for one. So I'm going to keep working my base, and then I will show you how to start working it up. I have worked a number of increase rows, and you can see that we have a square base. My square base is just about 12 inches across, 12 inches tall. If you're ever unsure about where to finish, so here is where I started the round and I worked all the way around, half double crochet, 3 half double crochets in the corner, get back up here. If you're ever unsure which stitch to skip, if you have a false stitch, if you are short a stitch, the number of stitches between each of the stitch markers should always be the same. So if you're working a smaller basket and you only have 5 stitches on each side, there should always be 5, 5, 5, 5 in between those stitch markers. For me, this is a much larger basket. I have 20 stitches in between, and I have made sure and counted in between my stitch markers that there are indeed 20 stitches in between each. Once you finish the base, we can take out our stitch markers. We don't need to increase anymore, and we're going to work a half double crochet all the way around into the back loops only. To work in the back loops only for this next round, I'm going to chain 1 just to get up to that height. You can see the stitches here, and you have, for example, what we've been doing is going through all of those stitches, those 3 here and the 3 in the back. When we're working in the back loops only, we want to split that stitch in half and just work in those back loops. So I'm going to work back into this first stitch here. I'm going to split that stitch right in half and just work in those back loops. Find the next stitch, split that stitch, and just work in the back loops only. Find the next stitch, back loops only. And because you're holding 3 strands of yarn together, it can be difficult to find the back loops. But just do your best, go slow, find those back loops, and work your stitch. And you're going to work this all the way around your base of your basket. So you can see now that we've created a little bit of a ridge here. You should be able to see where those front loops are popping out a little bit. Here's the back side, and you can see the sides are taking shape just from that one row. I did not join with a slip stitch. I am just going to continuously crochet into each stitch all the way around without joining and chaining one. So this is the easy part. Literally just around and around, one half double crochet into each stitch. So we're going to work right into that first stitch, half double crochet, move to the next stitch. We're going under all the loops now, half double crochet, into the next stitch, half double crochet, next stitch, half double crochet, and so on. And you will keep working this around and around. Now, if you are afraid that you're going to lose where the corner is that you first started, you can always just put a slip stitch in the general area. Of course, I picked up my broken one. So I'm just going to stick a slip stitch in this corner so I know as I'm crocheting and this basket is growing that that is the corner that I started in. I am also going to be putting handles on this basket. So work your basket until you get just shy of the overall height that you want it. I would say 1 inch to 2 inches below where you want to finish. I have worked 8 rows going around and around. You can see there's the inside of my little square basket. I have my stitch marker down here to mark the corner where I started, and I'm going to add some handles now. I am only going to add handles on this side and the side opposite. The other sides will just be worked around. To add a little handle, you want to find your corners. If you know how many stitches are on each side, for me it's 20, you want to find the exact center and work out. So because I know I have 20, I'm going to make a 6 stitch handle, which means that I will work 7 stitches on this side, do 6 stitches for the handle, and the last 7 on this side, and that equals 20. So depending on how many stitches you have on each side, you just kind of want to play with the numbers and see how big you want your handle to be, how many stitches on each side of the handle, and so on. A quick way to kind of do this is to find the 2 ends and just count stitches in so you have the same number on each side. Mark them with stitch markers where you want to start your handle, and then you'll know to start the handle at those points. Alright, so I'm going to work 7 half double crochets. At this point, I'm going to chain 6. So make sure you're getting all of those strands as you're chaining. I'm going to skip 6 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and into the 7th I'm going to work a half double crochet. And you can see that will create a little handle for my side. I'm going to work half double crochets around and do the same thing on the other side. Now this is where it is helpful to mark this out ahead of time. Now you can guesstimate it. I mean, if this is just a basket for yourself, you don't have to be precise. Nobody will really be able to tell if you have your handle a stitch or 2 off. I'm going to go ahead and mark where I want to skip those 6 stitches and create my handle and continue working. So I'm on the other side of my basket. Here's where I started that first handle. I went ahead and marked this stitch here so I know not to go into it but to start working those 6 chains and for the other handle. So I've worked into the stitch right next to that. I'm going to start chaining 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to skip 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and work a half double crochet into the next stitch. And now I can continue working my half double crochets into every stitch until we get back to this other handle. And what we're going to do is just work over the top, ignoring this space here, and create a little bit of height here for our handles, and then that is the end of this project. I am back at my first little handle. You can see that the handle has these individual stitches. You want to work a half double crochet into each of those stitches. Make sure that your tension is rather tight for this, because you don't want super large gaps, especially around the handle area. But it can be a little bit tricky working into those chains. Make sure you get all of your pieces, your strands of yarn. It's real easy to accidentally leave one behind. I have done that a few times in the course of this project. And now we're back to our base, and we can continue with the half double crochets. So you can see that it works a nice little handle. I'm going to keep working half double crochets all the way around, doing the same thing on this other handle, working a half double crochet into each of these chain stitches. And I'm just going to work another round or two, depending on how high you want this part above your handle. So maybe another round, maybe two, just depends. I have worked another round. So here was my first round of half double crochets over that chain for the handle, and then I worked one more, and you can see that the half double crochet really works up nicely, and I'm happy with that. So I am going to finish this project on that row. If you left your stitch marker in to indicate where the corner was that you started, you'll still have it in. If you took it out, there's an easy way to tell. On the bottom, you'll see there's kind of a jog in your yarn. So here's mine right here. That's where I started to work in the round. So I'm going to work a couple more stitches because I want to get up to that spot on my basket here. So I'm just going to work a couple more half double crochets. You can kind of line it up, hold it up, see where you want to join the rounds. One more. And I'm going to join in the next stitch. You can either work a single crochet, and that will kind of bring it down gradually and then slip stitch into the next, or you can just slip stitch. That single crochet isn't necessary, but if your half double crochets tend to be taller, you might notice if you go from a half double crochet right into the slip stitch to join that you will get a little bit of a little incline there. So if you feel like the slip stitch is too much of an incline, just put a single crochet in the next stitch and then slip stitch in the next, and that will join your round, and you can snip your yarn, weave in your ends, and you'll have a basket. Okay, so a quick note. You can see that this is the bottom of my basket. So it's up to you. Now this is technically the right side. It's up to you how you want to grow your basket. If you would rather have this wrong side on the bottom, then just make sure that you're working your sides up opposite the way that this is. So if your tails are showing on this side, then that is the wrong side, and this is all the wrong side. So all up in here is all the wrong side in the basket. All of my right side is on the outside of the basket. It doesn't matter, it's personal preference, however you like the look of your basket. So I'm going to go ahead and weave in these ends, and then we'll take a look at the final basket. The final square basket in the round. I love how it came out. I love how these colors worked up. These are the same combination of colors, yarns that I used in my basket, which I am currently using to hold all of my scrap balls of yarn for my 2023 Super Stash Busting Blanket project. This looks very much the same. The handles are sturdy, so I feel like I could just grab this, pick it up, I can put stuff in it, and it folds down, so it's easy for storage. I will give you the full measurements of this basket in the description box down below, so you can check out how big my basket turned out, the hook size, the yarn, and all the tools and pattern notes that you need to complete your very own square basket in the round. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, happy crocheting everyone. Bye!